Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, August 12, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Massive upset in Wisconsin, where Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley beats the Democratic Socialists of America candidate Francesca Hong. Will break down what happened here from here and her, and talk to an activist there who works in media to explain how in the world did he win after he earlier had dropped out of the race. Election interference is a huge issue. We'll talk to the organization that is covering that issue. Donald Trump continues to be a massive liar. He said that he was going to use his own money and donations for White House renovations. Now we know they want to stick taxpayers with a $1 billion bill. Yeah, billion with a B. Also, we'll talk to a candidate who is running for Congress in Texas. Lots to break down. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
How many times have you heard me say that Donald Trump is the liar in chief? That's who he is, and that's what he does. When he talked about building a new ballroom or building a ballroom on the White House grounds, he said, oh, no, this is not going to cost taxpayers at all. I'm going to use my own money, and we're going to also, we're going to seek donations. Oh, it's only going to cost $200-300. That's what he said. That's all it's going to cost us. Well, now we know he was a liar. He was lying then, he's lying now. They now want taxpayers to foot the bill, $900 million to $1 billion for this White House reconstruction project. Y'all, show the photos or video. You see how they have destroyed the White House lawn. They tore down the East Wing, supposedly for the ballroom. Then he was talking about building a heliport, okay, which is stupid because previously, whenever Marine One would land on the White House lawn, they just land on the grass. Oh, no, he wanted a heliport instead. And so they tore the ground up for that. And so now they want taxpayers to spend, almost $1 billion. And what they've been doing is they've been snatching money from different funds to pay for it. Confidential contracts and related planning documents indicate that they plan to use the money in an account for White House modernization projects. Now, last week, a U.S. federal appeals court ordered the administration to stop construction on a $400 million ballroom on the site of the White House demolished East Wing, dealing Trump a major setback. Now, when asked about the repairs, a White House spokesperson reiterated that renovations of the East Wing are tied to the security of the president, the White House grounds, and the security infrastructure asset. Lies, 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 and more lies. That's who this idiot is. Bringing my panel right now. Let's talk to them about this here. Joining us is Rebecca Carruthers, President and CEO of the Fair Election Center from D.C., Dr. Derek Jackson, State Representative from Georgia, joining us from Atlanta, Lisa Durden, Social Justice Journalist from Atlanta as well. So let's get right to it. Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. We know this man was lying. We know he always lying. And we knew damn well we were going to get stuck with the bill because he will never use his own money, and he just kept adding stuff to it. But that federal court made it perfectly clear that, dude, you just can't just do whatever the hell you want to do. It's not your house. It's the people's house. But what he does, Rebecca, he just goes ahead and tears the stuff up, and then, okay, I'll deal with y'all later. And so where are all these so-called fiscal conservatives now saying, how in the hell do we go from a $200-300 million ballroom to now $1 billion? Rebecca, you on mute.
Roland, I want to
Rebecca,
go
you
even
just talking
further.
and you on mute. Yeah.
You would think I will learn by now, and I still keep messing it up. Look, there's more questions that need to be asked. So we saw today that Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner's brother, just settled on the purchase of the Los Angeles Lakers. It was a purchase of about, $12.5 billion. It was just purchased last year for $10 billion. We also saw that Jared Kushner's brother also attempted to buy into FIFA. And so we also see that Jared Kushner himself helped purchase, I think it was EA Sports, so really getting into online gaming, electronic sports. And so that's just Jared Kushner and family. But then when we start to go into Trump's sons, to Trump's daughters, and seeing all the acquisitions that family has acquired over just the last 18 months in Trump too, in this administration. Like we knew the first administration that, yeah, there was probably some grift. But in this administration, it's as if they literally just backed up to the Treasury Department and said, give us all your money. This is a stick up. So I do think there has to be deep investigations into how money is moving out of the federal government coffers and to Trump and company. I was on a flight yesterday flying back into DCA and looking down and seeing the large gaping hole, which you're showing on the screen right now. It's ridiculous. So we know this president is going to keep doing what he wants to do, regardless of what the law says, and in some cases, regardless of what judges say. This is massive corruption. And so whenever we see a different government that leads this country, there has to be some type of retribution. There has to be some type of investigation. And it can't just be, oh, well, that happened and we're going to move on. No, we need our money back.
Derek, again, this man thinks he can do whatever he wants to do. That's how he acts. He acts with impunity, and Republicans in the House and the Senate are too scared to stop him. But you would think these fools out here, these so-called Republicans, would say, wait a minute, how in the hell did we go from $300 million that you were going to raise privately to now all of a sudden $1 billion?
The reason why, Roland, is because there's no congressional oversight. We all know, as a duly elected, you have to have congressional oversight. It's not what the judges are saying. He's ignoring that. You've already proved the point. Rebecca already proved that point. But there's no congressional oversight. So these fiscally conservative hawks, they're more like fiscally conservative hummingbirds. But here's the other point. I just want to make these points real clear. You know, there's the reason why they were able to go from 300 million to now $1 billion. Let's call it what it is, Roland, because it lacks transparencies. All these vanity projects. It's not just the ballroom. I mean, if you look at the Oval Office, some of the pictures that they were showing on, as it relates to the Oval Office today, I mean, just gaudy gold paintings all over the place. I mean, it just looks horrible. So it lacks transparency, all these vanity projects. Number two, these government agencies, they're funneling money through all these different government agencies. That's a great opportunity for corruption. Because this one particular area, it only, according to Congress, had $2.5 million in there. But now all of a sudden, hundreds of millions of dollars flowing through there. Secret Service routing, flowing through. All these dollars are flowing through where they normally had a threshold of $2.5 to $3 million. So there's an opportunity for corruption. That's the reason why we continue to have these oversight committees asking the question. You need to come down to Congress and answer these questions. You have these blue dogs also asking these questions as well. And then last but not least is this. The taxpayers are being robbed. They're taken away from national parks. They're taken away from Social Security. They're taken away from every aspect that the big ugly bill continue to allow for them to do to funnel all these billion-dollar vanity projects. And so taxpayers are being robbed. There's a human cost to all of this mess. And we got to put a stop to it.
Lisa, it is all about his ego.
It's not id, it's ego. I took a psych class when I was at Seton Hall University in New Jersey. Hey, Jersey. You know, to tag along to your point, to make your point, I keep forgetting the young man's name. You know, Donald Trump usurps systems and leapfrogs over processes. He's been doing it for a long time. And the reason why, you know the old phrase, who gonna check me, boo? That's what he knows. But I want to take us back to 2 points that I think that people seem to overlook. Remember back in his first administration, way back when, he was on the campaign trail talking trash. Yeah, I'm going to take down the wall and Mexico's going to pay. Yeah, he never took the wall down and Mexico said, we ain't paying. He lied then. Oh, let's fast forward to his next campaign. This third time he ran, he's actually literally at the when he and Kamala Harris was debating, and you know they're asking questions. So one of the moderators asked him the question about what are his plans. So Donald Trump was on the campaign trail, and he literally said, "I have a concept of a plan." He wasn't even required to tell us what his plan was, and I was disappointed with the moderator who didn't do a Part B question. Well, can you give us an example of some of your plans? What are a couple of the concepts? So he left that opening, it's like a blank check. You didn't write the number and you hand somebody a blank check and they fill it in themselves, they're gonna rob you blind. Fast forward, oh, you did have plans. So he ran around the first administration unfettered. He's running around this administration unfettered. So this is par for the course. What's disgusting me, or what has made me want to, you know, throw up in my mouth is not we, but those folks elected him again. So now he knows why would a person be in a fight, lose the fight and come back weaker? If a person loses a fight, they come back stronger with more artillery and ammunition. He's coming back different this time. So why are we shocked that he's leapfrogging over processes? Why are we shocked that he's not going through the proper channels like any other administration has done? Because he knows, again, who gonna check me, boo? So now, even as every judge says, slaps him down, he's going to do it anyway. And he talked about how, we're going to make sure we can pay for eggs and pay for gas. I live in the state of New Jersey. Gas is $3 or $4. So you have, $5. So you have money for this, no money. We can't buy eggs. We can't get gas. Rent prices are high. This man is a charlatan. He's a $3 bill. And I just wonder how people say, well, I thought he was going to get rid of the illegals. Even if that were true, you didn't think the other things that he was going to be stealing from us? You didn't think the other things like he was going to be taking from us? When the first administration, his family got uber rich, you didn't think the other things? All who claimed that you just cared about the illegals, that he was putting out the illegals, you didn't think about the other things that he did during his first administration that he's now doing times 45? That's what's disgusting me, the people who voted for him.
Yep. Well, again, these people claim they care about fiscal conservatism, but that's a lie, because they let this thug do whatever he wants to do. Hold tight 1 second, folks. We come back. What the hell happened in Wisconsin last night? How did Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who dropped out of the race, missed the first 10 days of early voting, got back in the race, how in the hell did he win the Democratic nomination for governor? We'll explain next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show.
Nope.
Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us.
Nope.
What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
Folks, last night in Wisconsin, they had their primary, and Francesca Hong, the Democratic Socialist of America candidate, she had been leading in the polls. When all the votes were counted, she lost by about 3,000 votes to Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. He got 39.8% to her 39.3%. Now, here's what's crazy. Crowley, he was the Milwaukee County Executive, literally dropped out of the race. She had about 5 or 6 candidates who were running. So he drops out of the race. Then there was a scandal with the lieutenant governor. She drops out of the race. Then the former lieutenant governor, Mandela Barnes, announces that he's dropping out of the race. And after he dropped out of the race, Crowley got back in the race. The sitting governor, Tony Evers, endorsed Crowley, also worked with him to aggressively campaign. Early voting had already started. And so Hong was sitting here in the catbird seat. Many establishment Democrats were freaking out, saying, oh, my God, she's already looked at the polls. She's going to lose in Wisconsin. We can't do this. And then Crowley all of a sudden comes roaring back. It is a stunning comeback for him and puts him on the verge of becoming just the 4th elected black governor in American history. I want to talk to someone in Milwaukee. He's been, of course, covering all of this, and I'm going to play Crowley. I want to play something for him later. Dr. Robert Biko Baker joins us right now. Dr. Baker, glad to have you here. So, all right, let's what the hell happened? Explain for the folks, how in the hell did this happen?
You know, thanks for having me on, Roland. I always get to come on and talk about my city and state. And they woke up the sleeping giant. David Crowley is in the hearts and minds of the city of Milwaukee, and people were advocating for him to win and run. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party they did him a disservice. And when he came back in, black women and people in the community rose up and got with David and pushed him forward. The other incredible thing is, I think Tony Evers' field campaign cannot be underestimated. What he was able to do in northern Wisconsin over a few weeks with a black man from the city of Milwaukee is quite impressive. There were counties that I don't think any of us anticipated David winning that he won. In fact, there was times where I know people were talking to his campaign and said that he needed to focus on Milwaukee more. And wow, that outstate work actually did come through this time.
So on that point, so when you look at how he won, what were his biggest, voting blocks? And was it a combination of urban centers, or was it sort of widespread?
It was widespread, Roland. I got to do a deeper dive into the statewide map. But when you look at, let's say, Madison, where Hong has a deep base, David did pretty well there. I think he got up to 37% of the vote there. Of course, there's all these candidates. Mandela was there. Brennan was there. But this brother from Milwaukee was able to overperform in Madison. And conversely, when you look at what happened in Milwaukee, Hong did amazingly well in Milwaukee. And I think that's a testament to her ability to engage younger voters, people who are working class, who are bought into her narrative. But at the end of the day, I have to look deeper, but my sense is Black women and the hood showed up for David Crowley, and that was the big difference.
So many people were talking about establishment versus these insurgent DSA candidates. And I'm always trying to explain to people that Black people are some of the most astute candidates you will find. And when I think back to 2020, it's not that Black people were in love with Joe Biden. Black people sat back and said, who can win in November? And that's how Joe Biden won South Carolina. And I think what happened here was Black people and others were like, hey, listen, I get the upstart and she's exciting and all this sort of stuff, but it's like, hey, winning the primary ain't the same as winning the general election.
100%. And, we don't have a powerful elder by the name of Jim Clyburn here in Wisconsin, but there are powerful leaders who got in the ear, I believe, of Tony Evers. And the reality of it is Francesca Hong as a general candidate is quite confusing to the state. And so I do believe party insiders rose up and gave David the stamp of approval, which he should have had already, Roland. He's the county executive in the most diverse state, diverse city in the state. He's able to bring different coalitions together. It's quite incredible what David Crowley has been able to do in 6 years as county executive, and the fact that the Democratic Party wasn't thrusting him to be the forerunner at the beginning of the campaign highlights that some of the work that needs to still be done inside the Democratic Party. But to its credit, it got it right at the last minute. 3,000 votes is as close as it has ever been. And for many of us, we didn't go to sleep till real late because we wanted to make sure that we knew what we had to do today.
On that particular point there, very close. And what we keep trying to explain to people, every election matters. Every vote matters. And so it's not just, well, my vote don't count. You win by 3,000 votes, that's a narrow margin.
And that highlights the work that Democrats got to do from 2026 to 2028. The old coalitions, the old infrastructure, the stuff that pushed Obama is not there anymore. The reality of it is David Crowley's coalition was an informal coalition of people who are not connected together by any caucus or community. It's just people who had authentic love for this young man who has done so much in our community and state. And so if there's going to be a blue wave in 2026 and 2028, there has to be an embracing of these new leaders like David who have insights into communities and connections that weren't always there. There's a new era here, and a lot of Black people, younger Black people, are more left than their elders. And so how do we bridge these communities together? And I think David Crowley is the perfect person, not only in the state of Wisconsin, but across America to do this type of work. He's from 53206. He understands the conservative fiscal nature of Black communities. He understands faith. And I think in a state like Wisconsin with a guy like Tony Evers, he's going to be able to embrace some of the populism that white middle America is talking about. And I think that I've known David Crowley since he's been 17, 18 years old. He's the real deal. And I think that Black America needs to get behind him because we know how important Wisconsin is for all the elections.
You talked about Dems not embracing Crowley. Here's also, I think, what happened here. How many people were initially in the race? Was it 6 or 7?
Yeah, it was like 7, 8. This is ridiculous. Yeah.
Right. And so all of a sudden, so I think what happened was when you have 7 or 8 people, if you're hung, hell, you're able to lead the polling at 34, 36, 38% because the other 6 or 7 candidates are splitting up the other 62%. But I think when the lieutenant governor dropped out, when Mandela dropped out, it winnowed the field. Crowley gets back in, and then people were sort of like, hey, I don't know if I want to vote for this cat over here. And so I think, frankly, it made it easier for him because you had folks who got out of the race. There were too many people running.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, David got in before Mandela dropped back out a second time, or Mandela dropped out that time. But I do think that the reality of it is, none of them votes were going for anybody but David Crowley anyway. The reality, like, this is something we've had to talk about in Wisconsin and other states that have these voter files that are churned because people move around a lot. You're not polling our community. You can act like you are, you can say you are, your methodology can say, but time and time again in Milwaukee, specifically, we have proven that these professional pollsters cannot gauge the heart of our community. And so, yes, the polls were close. Mandela definitely was taking votes from David and took votes from him last night. Mandela took significant amount of votes away from David last night. But the reality of it is David Crowley was always going to have these votes. He's the county executive. He's doing an amazing job. Homelessness is down. Violence in the county parks is down. Opioid deaths are down. He's playing the game in a similar fashion, I would say, as like a Harold Washington, who had a rainbow coalition. And unfortunately, in a city like Milwaukee, we don't get all the press attention, but he's done a marvelous job as a candidate. And I think other young candidates who get in the game for different reasons need to look at how David is able to win his race and have a powerful coalition across the state.
The 8-year-old MAGA Republican in the general election. Let's go to my panel for their questions. Derek, you first.
Yeah, listen, I am so impressed with David Crowley, and I just looked up. He raised only $700,000, and so can you dive a little bit deeper, Doc, on this coalition that he was able to create outside of the major urban centers? I mean, it looks like, and I'm just counting the number of rural counties. He took majority of the rural counties. And he had a significant number of black men and black women that pushed him over the threshold. And I know there's a lot of, back and forth. He jumped out of the race, jumped back in the race, but his name has always been on the ballot. His name has always been on the ballot. So can you dive a little bit deeper on how he was able to reach that coalition in the rural parts of Wisconsin?
Yeah, one of the things that was important, you brought up a big point about the ballot. He was at the top of the ballot. Those things matter in elections with a lot of people. When you looked at the ballot, it was like a list of names, like, and he was at the top. So those things played an important role. And then the other thing about David Crowley is, again, many people critiquing his campaign, specifically about his, maybe focus on the outer parts of the state, the more working class parts of Wisconsin, Green Bay, Appleton, Oshkosh. But the reality of it is those people identify with David Crowley. He grew up in one of the poorest zip codes in the state of Wisconsin. His mother had drug issues. He's a working class person. And yeah, he's a dark-skinned black man, but his values resonate. And I think one thing that we're seeing in a state like Wisconsin, particularly similar to Minnesota, is people are tired of these old school sort of indoctrination ideologies. And David is more towards the center. He talks to people. He's married. He has daughters. And so the left thing that Mandela got hit with in 22, being sort of like a far left person, they can't hit David with that, and they never could. And so when he goes to Oshkosh, when he goes to Racine, when he goes to Rock County, he's going to be able to really resonate at a human level. And I think that that's what black governors have always been able to do. Once they start talking, our great leaders, we forget what they look like.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Thank you. So I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Nebraska. So when we think about, moving away from the idea of labels, like I don't want to get into Democratic socialist, I don't want to get into progressive, liberal, I don't want to get into that. But when we're talking about kitchen table topics, such as how can we afford mortgage or rent? How can we afford childcare? How can we afford groceries? especially with all these recalls. How can we actually afford to live our lives? Those seem to be the issues that people care about. And you can make an argument that the more left the policy is, the more inclusive it is for everyone, the more equitable it is for everyone. But for my question, I hear you talking about Crowley's appeal outstate, but let's talk about what Crowley's appeal has to be inside of Milwaukee County.
That's a great question. That's a question that many of us have been thinking about. I think the thing about David, and I keep calling him David because I've known him such a long time, but County Executive Crowley, is that he does a great job of building his teams. If you think, for example, about Milwaukee County's Department of Health and Human Services, is run by a Black woman. She's got incredible ambassadors who are able to reach into the city in a way that is very impressive for city government, municipal government. You know, having worked with the county in the past versus now is quite impressive. And so I think that that's David's core strengths. He sees people's skill sets, he amplifies them, and then, you know, if you want to win Milwaukee County, you got to win Black women. And you know, you can talk to sisters. They showing up for him. They are going to show up and show out for David Crowley because he's done the same for them.
But will Milwaukee overperform? Or at least will Milwaukee's turnout be comparable to the rest of the state's turnout?
If you look at Milwaukee, we underperformed compared to Madison. But I think that's because a lot of Black folks started believing that narrative. You know, a dark-skinned Black man can't win. I've heard it. I heard powerful people say that to me. You know, Biko, he can't win. They started believing this nonsense. And so, like, the young people had his back, literally. We're showing up. They're showing up. And so what it takes now, I think, is just a reinvigorated spirit. For some reason, him leaving and coming back, that, you know, that catapulted him. And I think that right now, it's his thing to lose. Tom Tiffany is not a person that Republicans are even excited about.
I wanted to ask a question, but before I do, let me tell you something.
Lisa, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. David Crowley's coalition was coalitioning. That's not even a word. But I was so impressed with that. It was so stellar. I want to give a track reference. You know, I used to run track. I'm a championship track runner from back in the 80s. And you know when you see a relay race and they drop that baton in the 400-meter dash and they got to pick that baton up and come from behind, that's a whole nother gear you're getting into. That's my track reference. So my question is, what was his ground game? We look at social media and we think everything can be won by social media and PSAs and commercials. That's cool, but you need that ground game. You need to knock on doors. You need to kiss babies and shake hands. What was his ground game when he came back? Because people thought he had lost ground. He dropped out. They're like, oh, the Negro is back. What did he do to come from behind?
Again, I think it's important. I don't ever think he was fully behind. I think that those polls really confused people. I think Mandela, you know, Mandela is a powerful cat. You know, I think in many ways, both of them I know they grew up together in politics. And I think David, just being a man, maybe had deferred a little bit too much to him during the race. But I would say the thing that needs to be improved is David's ground game. You know, his coalition is strong. He's got people in his networks who've run campaigns. So, you know, you got a whole bunch of people in your crew that run campaigns. You can get stuff out. But the next level, if he's going to take on a heavily funded Tiffany, he's got to have a coordinated campaign. Otherwise, Republicans do field, I would say, better than Democrats do now.
Oh, in the ground. Got it. Makes sense.
Biko, last question for you. I said this, when all of these Democrats were losing their minds over DSA candidates running and winning. This is what I said. I said, guys, y'all need to calm the hell down. When Carville and others were going nuts, I said, I'm not freaking out. I said because DSA candidates can't win everywhere. I said it has to be a certain type of race for a DSA candidate to win. And Wisconsin is a state, listen, Trump barely won it in 16. Biden barely won it in 20. Trump barely won it over Kamala Harris in 2024. It is a state that has close margins. So you have to be a certain type of candidate if you're going to win there. Republicans were salivating at Hong being the nominee. And I just think that this is just a perfect example that, depending upon your state, a DSA candidate sort of has a ceiling that it's very difficult. Listen, Hong almost won, but but the bottom line is she didn't win. And so I would just say to these establishment Democrats, maybe what happened here, Hong's strong showing caused them to get off their asses and stop being complacent and understand. In fact, I was reading this article in the Bulwark, and they were talking about the impact of black voters on this race, and this is what they actually said. They said that this was the closing. The person said, "I am not a Democratic strategist, but if I were, I would tell prospective Dems to lean into the African-American vote. Find ways to appeal to black voters, and your chances of winning general elections improve because black voters aren't just the center of the Democratic Party. They're close to the center of our broader political culture. Find where black voters are, go there, and win."
Roland, you've had me on your show several times talking about this in Wisconsin. Amen. It's not that difficult, and people follow our culture. Even though we're not the biggest percentage in the state, people follow what we do in Milwaukee. They follow what our culture is doing. That's why David Crowley resonates with people all across the state. And so, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors out here, man. You know what I mean? There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and a lot of people are battle tested and tired. And so, besides leaning in the black people, they got to lean into leaders like David Crowley who have experience. We can't just get the people who just jumped off the porch to run the campaigns. Also, we live in an area where if you've only run campaigns with your pen and your clipboard, maybe you should get with someone else. And so I do believe, as the sister said, there's a passing of the guard, a passing of the baton. And it's going to take really strong leaders like David Crowley who can talk to multiple audiences to win. And I don't know anybody that does that better than black people. You know what I mean? Maybe there's others. I don't know. But I live in a very black city. Black leaders are the ones who do that here.
Well, primarily because, listen, black people, we know how to have to turn things on, turn things off, and we're suing that. If Crowley wins in November, he would be the youngest governor in the country at the age of 40. Pico Baker, I appreciate it, Doc. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you. Folks, going to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about congressional race out of Texas. Lots of other things to talk about as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to support that work, please do me a favor. Contribute via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's for checks and money orders. For credit cards as well. Checks and money orders. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle. Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. Get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well, what they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show.
Nope.
Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us.
Nope.
What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin, unfiltered, deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
From fast-paced city life to connected neighborhoods filled with rich history, you will find it all here in Georgia's capital city.
You truly will find it all here, by the way. I mean, we talk about the fact that this is the intersection of politics and culture and really just anything that a journalist could possibly want and be interested in. Food.
This is a great city for news. It's a great city to be living in.
Absolutely. Well, leading this fine city is our mayor, Mayor Andre Dickens, the 61st mayor of the city of Atlanta. He is a proud Atlanta native. In fact, grew up right down in Southwest Atlanta. Before being elected as the city's chief executive officer, Mayor Dickens was a chemical engineer and a former member of the Atlanta City Council.
Yes, and because of a prior commitment out of town, which the AJC will check, Mayor Dickens could not be here tonight, but he left this message to welcome you to our city.
This is Mayor Andre Dickens, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am to welcome you back to Atlanta. It's been about 20 years since we last hosted your national convention. And if it feels like you're coming home, that's because you are. Our city has a deep and enduring connection to NABJ. Atlanta has been home to 2 of your past presidents, and we're proud to be the home of your current president. A few founders have also made their home here too. For more than 50 years, NABJ has stood up for its members, fighting for fair hiring, equal pay, and meaningful opportunities for black journalists and media professionals. At the same time, you have made sure that communities of color are covered fully, fairly, and accurately. A lot has changed since you were last here. The way journalism works, the tools you use, and the world you cover. One thing that has not changed, though, is the need for strong and diverse voices that tell stories that reflect all of us. You have found ways to keep moving forward, no matter how the landscape shifts. For that, I applaud you. Thank you for celebrating the 50th anniversary of your national convention here in Atlanta. And a special congratulations to our own Atlanta Association of Black Journalists, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year also. I truly wish I could be there with you this week. Thank you for choosing Atlanta, and let's not wait another 20 years to do this again.
Folks, the live ceremony of the opening of the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Atlanta is happening right now. Below me, yes, I'm in my hotel room doing the show. Work always matters. And so we will be live streaming the opening ceremony later. If you want to check it out, go to the NABJ YouTube channel. And so again, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network, we'll be restreaming the live ceremony, the opening ceremony later. All right, folks, let's talk about election interference. Donald Trump says he may declare a national emergency when it comes to this midterm election. What the hell is the national emergency? No one knows. Joining us right now is investigative reporter Allison Green. She's the founder of Grassroots Speak and the It's Up to Us campaign. She's done extensive research into election interference going back to the 2016 election. Allison, glad to have you here. We've all been making it clear on this show and others that this man is a thug. He will do whatever he needs to do to cheat, to rig the election, and everyone must be mindful. In fact, I saw a clip the other day where Todd Blanche, I think, said, why should people be, scared if there's ICE and others at the polls? Well, we know why. It's voter intimidation. And this is what Republicans really are focused on.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I see the world in a very different place. Not for the reasons that you talked about. I'm actually completely on your page. I think that we get caught up in party politics, but the reality is there is only one person in this country who has been indicted for a conspiracy to violate the voting rights of the people. And that was Donald Trump. So when I'm talking about Donald Trump, I'm not talking about the Republican Party. I'm talking about the man that, as you say, has basically said he's going to do everything he can to interfere. And he's actually been indicted. He did not get prosecuted, but he's gotten indicted for it. And so I see the world in a very different place because I believe that there is a national emergency and that there is massive election fraud. I just don't agree with who Donald Trump is saying, because Donald Trump then points to the Democrats and to China, but all of my research points to Trump, Republicans, and Russia.
Absolutely. And listen, when he gave that big old speech in the Oval Office claiming, I was going to release all his evidence, all he did was even more confirm that Russia was trying to help him win in 2016.
Absolutely. So, I mean, all of the evidence shows that Russia was actually interfering in 2016. And so I actually have done deep dives, and maybe I should just step back for a second. I became an investigative journalist primarily because I was so infuriated with the state of the country, but I come with a vast amount of life experience. But I started actually in 2018 investigating our elections. I found that, yes, all of the evidence was that they actually were interfering in our elections in 2016. But what I can tell you is that my current research, and again, this has been years, is showing that they were never removed from the voter registration systems after they got in 2016. And I believe that in 2018, they were in our systems. In 2020, they were in our systems, but they didn't necessarily get the outcome that they wanted. And then in 2022 and 2024, I recently confirmed this because in 2018, Trump was actually warned that Russian malware could actually delete 1 in every 10 black votes. If anybody wants to look, that's public records. That's Bob Woodward's reporting, pages 116 to 118 of the book Rage. And he explained that actually the malware that was sitting in the systems could actually delete 1 in every 10 votes. What I did was in 2018, that warning came through from the intelligence officials to Trump. He said, let's keep that between us. Let's keep that classified information. It was only first reported through Bob Woodward. But when I saw that, I realized that where Bob Woodward said the malware was sitting was 2 counties in Florida, St. Lucie County and Washington County. And I happen to live in St. Lucie County, Florida. So I thought, well, if the malware that was capable of deleting 1 in 10 voters had been removed, then I wouldn't find any evidence of it. But what I found was that I did public records requests. I tried to recreate the voting population in St. Lucie County, and I couldn't. I could only obtain 90% of the records. In 2024, I found that 1 in every 10 votes was missing from the voter registration information that was not, it's meant to be retained. So 1 in 10 was missing, 1 in 10 is still missing, and that led me to realize that the Russian malware was never removed necessarily, and Florida in 2016 was ground zero, but this is still going on.
Questions from the panel. Rebecca, you first.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Your report, today is the first time I'm hearing of your report. How has the response been to this report?
Let's put it this way. I've been trying to blow the whistle since 2024, and you haven't heard from me. But that is because it is very hard to get people to talk about this topic, because we actually have two narratives that go on in our countries. There is one narrative that says there's massive election fraud, and it's actually coming from the Democrats and the Chinese now, and they're stealing our elections. The other narrative and lane is that, well, since Trump has actually not brought any proof of fraud in the 60 times that the Democrats brought him to court, therefore there is no fraud. And so therefore I'm kind of stuck between these two narratives. One that says there's massive fraud, but it's them, and Trump is the one kind of screaming fraud. And the other one, I just read an article in The Guardian 2 days ago that said that the top Senate Democrats were wargaming the scenarios. And one of the first scenarios they were given is, what if somebody comes out and says that they have massive election fraud interference, and they're trying to figure out how to shut that down. And so I haven't gotten very good reception, but I think it's really simple. I embrace, yes, I think that we do, if we look at the data, can prove massive election fraud. But at the same time, there's only one person who's actually been indicted for a conspiracy to violate the voting rights of the people, and that's Donald Trump. And so it's actually coming from him. So I'm not surprised that you're not hearing this, because it is incredibly hard to get the word out.
Lisa.
Yeah. Have you seen any, since we're starting to have this conversation, have you seen any steps that are being taken to combat this? Do you have suggestions yourself about how we can deal with this moving forward? What's happening? Because you've identified the problem or problems,
yes,
but are there remedies? What's happening? There
are remedies. Yes, and I'm so excited you asked me that, because that is what I want to focus on. There are remedies. I'm just one person with a group of volunteers. I have not been posting about this as much lately because last week I was actually in DC. I was invited after having been vetted. My information was vetted, and I was invited to the Whistleblower Summit, which gave me great connections. I'm trying to tie together organizations, because what we've actually done, me and a couple of volunteers and no budget, is we've created a database. And that database has been collecting voter records. So currently, as of 2 days ago, we currently have 57 million voter records in just 8 states. And because one of the things that we do is we take different snapshots, we actually have 467 million voter records in total. The reason we take snapshots is we can compare. And so, for example, I can easily see who might have been removed from the voter lists. And we can then get those people back on the voter lists. And I just did that today. I got a friend of mine actually has a daughter, and I went to check her voter registration, and she was registered with a party that I wasn't very familiar, the AMF party. And I looked them up, and they come from a white supremacist background. And I said, I don't understand who is this party. And so I told my friend, and she was like, absolutely, this is wrong and incorrect. Her daughter was 18 and went to the DMV, and they somehow put her in a different party. She re-registered as a Democrat. Because she said she absolutely had originally registered as a Democrat, but I got a text just this morning that she couldn't vote in the primaries but at least I'm saving her vote for the regular election. We want to roll this out. And I know in your last segment, you talked about the ground game. I'm working with a candidate in DC, for example, where we can give them strategic lists of who they should actually be visiting. Because one of the things is we know that votes are being deleted, but there's another really unusual problem. I think of it as two sides of the same coin. Just like there are votes being subtracted, there are votes being added in a way that actually pads the voter rolls. And I think of these fraudulent voter registrations as what I call ghost voters. And ghost voters are sitting there on the voting rolls, and they could cast a vote for whatever candidate the bad actor wants them to vote for. So we've actually been data mining our database. I mean, I have 40,000 voters whose first name is just a single letter of the alphabet. And so I literally have I have somebody in Florida who will be voting whose first name is the single letter Y and their last name is the single letter Y. And I can't get them off the official rolls. But the question is I don't think that YY is a real person. Who's verifying these voter rolls? How did they get on there? And now how do we get them off? So we're trying to align with people, with candidates, with organizations, with all the people who are the boots on the ground. We can supply them with the lists of these are the doors that you should be knocking on, or these are phone numbers of people who were suppressed previously that you can call and get them to re-register.
Derek?
Thank you for your work on this very important topic, right? I mean, in full transparency, I'm a state legislator right here in Georgia. I'm a retired Navy commander, served this country for 22 years. And I've been following a lot of legal scholars, election administrators, Secretary of States across the United States, trying to create a firewall because we already know that this administration is very clear that they're going to interfere with the midterm election for 2026. And so my question to you is really around the Constitution, right? I mean, because we already have the ammunition. The Constitution is very clear under Article 1, Section 4 of the United States Constitution says states hold the primary authority to set the time, places, and manner of holding elections. On that manner piece, are you focusing on those states, such as Georgia, where they primarily already targeted? They came here several months ago, beginning of the year, took 700 boxes from Fulton County with the FBI. They had ICE. So what are some other suggestions? I'm talking about hard suggestions that states that are being targeted, like Georgia, that we can prepare for on November 3rd, because it's great that we're talking about one aspect about these ghost voters and the error, which is very, very minuscule, but there are some other ways that they're going to intimidate these states that they're targeting, such as Georgia.
Right. And so I'm so glad you asked. And by the way, Georgia is very close to my heart. It's near and dear. I've written about it in the past. I have some very firm beliefs about Georgia, and I know that I want to help you guys do whatever you can to keep it safe. And I just want to clarify, when you said minuscule, 40,000 voters, that's not all of them. There's plenty of them. So what I actually am going to suggest is, I know that you talked about like all of the different ways that we can keep elections safe. Somebody described it as a pie chart the other day, and they said, if we take all of the different ways that people are looking at of keeping the elections safe, they said to me, I don't know anybody else who's in your lane. It's like my piece of the pie is not being talked about. What I would actually encourage you to do is that we can work with Georgia to monitor so that we can ensure that in real time, anybody who is in the background being deleted from the voter rolls, we can catch them and get them put back on. So that's number one on the subtraction piece. And then number two is we can actually go through, and because we now know the patterns to look for, we can find potential ghost voters who are being on the rolls to potentially cast votes, and we can remove them from the official rolls. Because the way that the system actually works is that there is no way that you can cast a ballot if the voter registration system doesn't have you as a registered voter. On the other hand, if you are a registered voter and you're sitting there on those voter rolls, whoever gets your mail, whoever has a fake ID that can show up, can actually cast the ballot. So we want to protect the voter rolls, and I would encourage you and other state legislators. We currently have in our database, we have voter records from Florida, from Texas, from Ohio, from Massachusetts, from New York, from Pennsylvania. We have not been able to get Georgia yet. We have others that we're working on getting. And now that we know what we're looking for, we can immediately give you lists to say, you should check whether this is a verified voter or not. And we could actually also give you lists of these are the 100 people who were taken off the rolls. And let's qualify that they were legitimately taken off the rolls and that it was not just a system. Because I'll tell you right now, in my county in 2024, 256 people, which may not sound like a huge number, but it's still a number. You know, it's 256 people showed up and they went to vote and they said, the system can't find you, so therefore we're not able to take your ballot. And those 256 people were out of luck. We also want to work with poll watching organizations so that they can call us up. And if we have the data in our system, we can say, yes, here's the evidence that they were actually an eligible voter, because we think that there's people in the voter rolls who are deleting information. But if we have it backed up and we, through a chain of custody, can show that this has come directly from the county or the state, we can make sure that not only every vote counts, but every vote that they're trying through these kind of back room kind of shenanigans, we can make sure that every one of those vote counts, whether it's 1 in 10 that gets deleted after the ballot is cast or people who show up.
All right. Allison, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with a candidate running for Congress in Texas. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well, what they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Deion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
And she was the very first person that I met headed to NABJ. We met in the airport in BWI and flew down here, and we've connected every year ever since. So what a joy. That's what NABJ is all about. I love it.
It is a family, and it is a series of family reunions, and they are all meaningful. They really are.
All right.
All right, well, we will keep going, and let's get to the professional chapters.
Yeah.
So our professional chapters are the backbone of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that as a proud member of the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists.
Mm-hmm.
So they provide continuing education opportunities for working journalists. They help communities learn how to interact with the media.
Absolutely. Through NABJ, they help hold media organizations and individual journalists accountable for their coverage not only of black communities, but of all communities.
As evident in our founding, it only takes a few dedicated people with a common goal to build a lasting organization, one with powerful reach. And this year's nominees for Professional Chapter of the Year include some of our oldest chapters, as well as one of our newest chapters.
All right, the nominees are NABJ Sacramento. Okay, strong presence.
Oh.
The Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists. Okay. The National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles. NABJ Tulsa. All right, shout out to Oklahoma. The Washington Association of Black Journalists. NABJ St. Louis. And the Columbus Association of Black Journalists.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
Strong nominees again.
I know, and look, Ohio showing up with two nominees.
Yes.
That's pretty great. Good. All right.
All right.
So the 2026 NABJ Professional Chapter of the Year goes to NABJ Sacramento.
All right. Woo-hoo! Thank you.
So, folks, that's the opening ceremony for the National Association of Black Journalists. Congratulations to our Sacramento chapter for winning the professional chapter of the year. And we also, of course, hand out the student chapter of the year and the other awards. So, great job there. Again, the convention kicks off today. And then, of course, we go until Sunday. So, we will be here. Of course, I'm Vice President Digital, so I've got board duties, and it's all sort of stuff that we are loaded with, and so lots of stuff. We're going to be carrying the live stream tomorrow of the opening plenary session. The family of Nolan Wells will be here along with Ben Crump, Reverend Al Sharpton, and so that's happening tomorrow. So we will have that live right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Let's talk what's happening in Texas. You know, the Republicans there gerrymandered the state to try to pick up 5 new seats, and one of the races deals with the 25th Congressional District there in Texas. And lifelong advocate and social justice activist Dion, first of all, our next guest, is joining us right now, Dion Sims. She's going to be facing Roger Williams in that congressional race. She's the granddaughter of Dr. Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth. She joins us right now. Dion, obviously, Republicans have changed the district to favor them. And so what are your plans? What is in terms of how you will be successful and try to win that congressional seat?
Well, first of all, hello, Roland. Thank you for having me on. The main thing that I want to focus on is bringing humanity back into governing. one of the key complaints that I've heard as I traveled the 12 counties other than Tarrant County that is represented by the new gerrymandered 25 is that the people don't know their representative. He's not speaking for their voice, their life, what their experience is, and they want change. And so that's what I'm going to bring to this race.
Obviously, this is covering Arlington, Fort Worth, and it stretches all the way to Abilene. And so that's a lot of territory in Texas. And so, you know, your plan to be able to reach a lot of those places, a lot of those rural places.
So the team and I have developed a staffing, if I win, when I win, a staffing model that allows for mobile connection to the congressperson. So of course there'll be the DC office, the Tarrant County office, but we're going to have a mobile situation that allows us to be able to be in the districts on certain times so they'll know when and schedule so they can come and meet the staff for the district office. So when we work with the rural, it's going to not, because we want to have, you know, funds to staff every county, but to find a way to make sure that they have access to their representative. And then of course, when we come back to district, making sure we have town halls and regularly meeting with them on the recesses when we come back home.
Look, you're running again in a district that the Republicans have drawn to favor them. How do you appeal to those white voters in this district to pick you over Republican Roger Williams?
The main thing is the issues. The healthcare, right now, the healthcare, data centers, and affordability are the three main topics, and those are both rural as well as suburban Tarrant County. So it's not about, you know, rural versus suburban, and we're so different. How can someone, you know, represent both entities? It's about people. And right now, the policies of this administration, the effect of affordability, gas being so high, being able to choose to get, you know, your gas, go to work and put food on the table. All of these handle both the suburban folks in the DFW area as well as the rural. So it's not about the white folks versus black folks or left versus right. Right now it's top and bottom. And right now the oligarchs, the billionaires are making life harder for working families. And that's what people are really talking about right now. Even the white folks in the rural part of my district, they're excited to have me run. They're like, we actually have someone that can relate to the everyday person. And so with that, it's been really good as I've been traveling to Young and Jack County, Erath and Hood and Somerville. It's really been engaging, right? They're excited to have someone run to represent them. So it's not really a black and white thing. They're really about who's going to take care of me, who's going to speak up for me.
I understand that as the last question for you. May not be black or white, but this is the reality. 2024, this district went for Trump 68% to 31%.
It did.
In 2022, Greg Abbott 68-31, Dan Patrick 66-32, Ken Paxton 66-31. So it is a very conservative district. In fact, going back to 2008, I think the lowest that a Republican got in this particular congressional district looks like was 64%. The highest was 73%. How do you break through?
And Roland, I am not running away from the fact that it was gerrymandered and built to be that way, but it's built to silence the vote in Tarrant County, the black and brown vote that was in Tarrant County. My district is 67% Tarrant County, but I do have to win over a large number of the rural vote, and I totally understand that. And it's about getting out and pressing the people and making sure they understand that there's a choice this time. There's no shortcut to this. It is hard work, and it is a lot of miles that I'm covering all the time. but it is about getting folks that are there, that are boots on the ground in those counties, excited about there being a change and someone running against the incumbent that's been there, that's brought this on their life. So when they talk about data centers, which is the hardest topic right now, the hottest topic, it's about, he allowed that to happen to them, right? And so it's bringing those issues forward. And I think the greatest thing that I have working for me is I'm not scared of the work that's necessary to encourage them and show them what they have to go for, what they have to live for.
All right, Deion Sims, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roland.
Folks, going to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla! You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay! All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Is Jesus sort of a shield for racists? Guess what? A former Miss North Carolina is suing the pageant after she was dethroned because of racist and homophobic slurs. That's right. This come after screenshots were shared online of a 2017 exchange showing an account tied to Brittany Boltonhouse repeatedly using the N-word. Reports have also highlighted her political views, including photos from 2024 showing her supporting Donald Trump. On Monday, her attorney, Patrick Mincy, said his firm is investigating the decision on behalf of his client. He claims she was targeted because of her Christian faith and conservative political views. Boltonhouse lost her title just weeks before the Miss USA competition scheduled for August 24th through August 27th. The Miss USA organization has not indicated whether she will be reinstated. I mean, Lisa, really? Is that what we're doing now? It's like, oh, no, I'm not. Okay, yeah, I know y'all found some N-word stuff, but no, I love Jesus.
Target her mouth. I mean, how do you let these words come out of your mouth? And they targeted your mouth? I mean, as they say, the caucasity, I don't know if the caucasity of it all, but like, is anybody shocked? When you have things like reverse racism, the EEOC is now letting white men sue because they were not getting jobs because they're white. And although I said the N word, you can't get rid of my crown because that's reverse. I'm just so exhausted. I'm surprised my hair is not gray by now. This girl opened her mouth and ran around with the N-word until her teeth turned white. When the comedian Paul Mooney said, you say the N-word till your teeth turn white? And now she wants to cry. Boo, hoo, hoo. She's like a Karen. It's interesting how these Karens play victims, and people, not people with good sense, but people buy into it who are actually wanting to support this kind of racism. I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, hey, courts are here for anybody who wants it. You can sue anyone for anything, but you're not going to win. They snatched that crown and she's not going to get it back, and she should not. Crazy. Oh, I think you're muted. What did you say? I didn't hear you. Because it looks like you said something funny. Oh.
1 second. So I had to fix this microphone here for a second. Y'all got me now?
Oh. Yeah, we hear you now.
I had to switch microphone. I said, Rebecca, I'm sure Jesus is saying, hey, don't bring me in this. I ain't in this. Rebecca, microphone.
My microphone isn't working? This is what I said. According to the Bible, she could go to hell because the Bible says no racism in your heart. You can't go to heaven with racism in your heart. So her behind could go to hell, right? But here's the thing. Even looking at her picture, she's sure she all the way white. She might want to be careful with being racist and trying to associate with racists because they might kick her out the club. Look, we know in this country that it was Christian councils across the South that also cosplayed as KKK members. And so to even say she's being targeted because she's a Christian or she's trying to use white baby Jesus Christianity to somehow justify her racist beliefs, look, she's a racist. At least stand on it. Be bold. It's 2026. You have Donald Trump. Just stand on it and say you're a racist. But you might want to check your family tree because that something may not be clean in that buttermilk.
I agree. Derek.
Listen, this is chapter 1 of the Christian conservative victim playbook, right? Use a high-profile conservative law firm and frame it as an anti-black slur under religious freedom. Here's the bottom line. Using the N-word isn't a Christian value. And losing your crown for racist behavior isn't cancel culture neither. It's called accountability. That's what it's called. It's called accountability. You don't get the high behind Jesus to justify using the N-word. I mean, this is so pathetic and to cry the victim card. Last thing I would say is this, and I certainly agree with Lisa and Rebecca on this, Roland. This whole privilege thing, this whole entitlement thing, right? They think that they can just demean black and brown people. And I agree with you, Rebecca, because I was looking, I'm like, is she fully? But the bottom line is she forfeit the right to wear that crown. It is not a right. It is a privilege to wear that crown. And so I think they did the right thing because this is just chapter 1 of the conservative Christian victim playbook. Woe is me. And so you can't hide behind Jesus using the N-word.
And that's what they do. Let me thank Lisa, Derek, and Rebecca for being on today's panel. I certainly appreciate it, folks. Thank you so very much. All right, y'all. We're going to close the show out hearing from David Crowley, who won last night the Democratic nomination for governor in Wisconsin, as well as Francesca Hong, who was leading in the polls, but who came up short, about 3,000 votes short. I got to go because, of course, I've got some duties for NABJ. So I was going to play these earlier, so we're going to play those now. And, folks, I will see y'all tomorrow on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Roll it. All right, folks, not sure what's going on there with the audio. We're going to go to a break. Let's fix this, and we'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. She texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. People who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
This week on the other side of change.
Black life, Black death, in a country that was never built for us.
We are talking about 18-year-old Nolan Wells, his family's search for answers, and the way that our own trauma is showing up in how we are reacting to the news.
Where was Nolan in the 90 minutes between when you're claiming you last saw him and when you actually left the island? Because 90 minutes is a lot of time. So where was he?
Tune in on The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the original T-Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
After he won by less than 4,000 votes this morning, David Crowley accepted the Democratic nomination for governor in Wisconsin. He spoke to the nation. This is what he had to say.
Good morning. You know, I always say that every day is a good day. In Wisconsin, it is a very good day. We are joined right here at the Sherman Phoenix, a community symbol of rising from the ashes, rebuilding with vision, and fostering a brighter future. Today, I stand before the people of Wisconsin after we rose from the ashes, after we rebuilt this campaign with purpose, and after people of Wisconsin decided that the bright future that working Wisconsin families deserve is worth fighting for. Today, I stand before you filled with gratitude, with humility, and hope as I formally accept the Democratic nomination to be the next governor of the great state of Wisconsin. Now, this victory belongs to so many people. It belongs to every volunteer who knocked doors in the heat, who made phone calls late into the evening, who sent text messages and hosted neighborhood gatherings. It belongs to every supporter who contributed what they could, who shared our message and inspired others to get involved. It belongs to every Wisconsinite who believed that their voice could make a difference. I want to thank Governor Tony Evers for his friendship, his leadership, and his belief that Wisconsin works best when working people come together to solve problems. Most importantly, I want to thank my wife, Erica, my better three quarters, and the A Squad. None of this would be possible without your love, your patience, your sacrifices, and your faith. Public service asks a great deal of the people closest to us, and I will never take that for granted. Today is also a time to recognize everyone who participated in this primary. Democracy is stronger when people step forward to serve their families, their communities, and engage in spirited debate about how best to do that. To Kelda and Joe and every candidate who shared their vision for Wisconsin, thank you. They challenged all of us to think bigger about what our state can become. And I especially want to thank Representative Francesca Hall. Her campaign reminded people across Wisconsin that there are no long shots when it comes to believing in a better future and fighting to expand opportunities to every family. That kind of passion, it strengthens our democracy. And I look forward to earning their support and everyone who participated in this campaign as we move forward together. Over the past few months, you've heard a lot of people try to define this election as a battle between the left and the center, between progressives and the establishment, between insiders and outsiders. That narrative misses the entire point of what we're doing. Because when I traveled across Wisconsin, I didn't meet people who introduced themselves that way. I met parents wondering how they'll afford childcare. I met workers who want wages that keep up with the cost of living. I met farmers trying to preserve family traditions. I met small business owners trying to keep their doors open, and I met seniors who deserve security and dignity after a lifetime of work. I met young people who simply want a fair chance to build a life right here in this great state we call Wisconsin. We may not agree on every policy. We may not use the same labels, but we all want safe communities, strong schools, affordable health care, good paying jobs, and a brighter future for all of our children. And every one of us has something much bigger to unite around. And that is keeping MAGA extremism from bringing the chaos we see in Washington into our neighborhoods right here in the state of Wisconsin. From the very first day that I announced this campaign, I said the real threat wasn't any of my primary opponents. The real opponent has always been Tom Tiffany. That remains true today. Tom Tiffany stood with those who tried to overturn a free and fair presidential election instead of defending our democracy. He's worked in lockstep with Donald Trump to slash programs that Wisconsin families depend on, including SNAP and health care for our children, our seniors and veterans and working families. He backed harmful, costly policies like the war in Iran, while too many families right here, right at home, are struggling to make ends meet. He spends his time fueling culture wars because sowing division is much easier than delivering results. Wisconsin, we deserve better than politicians who divide us for their own political gain. We deserve leaders who wake up every single morning asking one simple question: how can I make life better for the people we serve? That's what this campaign has always been about. It's about affordability, making it easier to buy a home, lowering everyday costs, making childcare more affordable and available, growing an economy where hard work actually pays off. It's about care, making healthcare more affordable and accessible, supporting our caregivers, investing in mental health services, standing up for our veterans, our seniors, and every Wisconsinite who deserves dignity. It's about opportunity, creating the jobs of tomorrow, preparing students for careers that don't even exist yet. It's about supporting apprenticeships, technical education, higher education, and lifelong learning, building an economy where success isn't determined by your zip code or your last name. So let me say this clearly. This election is not about insiders versus outsiders. It's not about the establishment versus progressives. It's about building something bigger than any one campaign. It's about building a movement, y'all. A movement that reaches every corner of Wisconsin. Urban neighborhoods and rural communities, small towns and growing suburbs, factory floors and family farms, Northwood communities and lakeshore cities. A movement that believes the jobs of the future should be created right here in the state of Wisconsin. A movement that believes deserters deserve respect, fair wages, and the freedom to organize. A movement that believes every Wisconsin family deserves the resources to thrive. A movement that believes every child deserves a world-class education in a fully funded public school with outstanding teachers and modern classrooms and every opportunity to succeed no matter where they live in this state. A movement that believes women, not politicians, should make their own healthcare decisions. A movement that believes protecting our land, our water, our environment is not just about today, but about a Wisconsin that we leave for the next generation of leaders. Now that this primary has come to a close, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is David Crowley. I am a son of Milwaukee. I'm a community organizer by heart who has just happened to find himself in the halls of the state capitol building at the head of Milwaukee County government for the last 6 years. My road to this moment wasn't perfect. It was hallmarked by childhood eviction, family addiction, and mental health struggles, and some very dark days where I didn't even know where I'm going to lay my head down at night. I know what it means to face hardship because I've lived it. I know what it's like to rely on public schools, to depend on opportunity, and to believe that if people invest in you, your future can improve and it absolutely can change. I've experienced setbacks. I've made mistakes, but I've also experienced the power of second chances, the strength of community, and the importance of leaders who never give up on people. Those experiences, it has shaped who I am today. They taught me that our government works best when we open doors for everyone instead of closing them. That leadership is measured by results, not rhetoric. And that every child deserves the same chance to succeed, regardless of where they were born or what neighborhood they grew up in. That's why I've dedicated my life to public service, not public office. Because what we do isn't just about winning elections. It's about improving the lives of our neighbors. Because we know the most patriotic thing that we can do as Wisconsinites and as Americans is to see those who disagree with us as human beings, deserving the same rights and the same opportunities as everyone else. Instead of fearing those we cannot understand and letting that fear divide us, patriotism is doing the work to see the humanity in all of our neighbors. It is our work that puts our future generations first and prioritizes progress for all of us. So today begins a new chapter. Today, we get back to work. We'll knock on more doors. We'll have more conversations. We'll welcome Democrats, Republicans, independents, and every Wisconsinite who believes in democracy, who believes in opportunity in moving our entire state forward. Together, we will build the broad coalition that this moment absolutely demands. Together, we will reject division. Together, we will reject extremism. Together, we will make history and write the next chapter of Wisconsin's story, one built on opportunity, compassion, hard work, and hope. And together, we will defeat Tom Tiffany. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you to the people who knocked on doors. Thank you to every single corner of this great state. Because Wisconsin, we got work to do. God bless you all, and thank you for being here. God bless you. God bless you. We have time for a few questions.
Could you talk about how you'll reach out to progressives without losing moderate?
Look, right now, our job, as we always said, come August 12th, was of making sure that everybody had a seat at the table. So many people have felt like they've been on the menu because nobody has asked them to lend their voices to the solutions. And so I'm looking forward to working with every single candidate in all walks of life, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, to make sure that we can defeat the MAGA extremists and Congressman Tom Tiffany this upcoming November. Good morning. Well, we still have a midterm election coming up. And now with this primary election being over, it is still my hope that we will be able to take over the state Senate and take over the state Assembly, making sure that Democrats are in the driving seats, making sure that when the tide rises, all the boats rise. We're going to be making decisions to make sure that hardworking families across this state have more opportunities to thrive and not just survive. I mean, this historic moment is not lost on me, but I'm not even thinking about that because we still got work to do. You know, the job is not done. The job is not finished. And so my job is not to become the first. And if I do become the first, my job is to make sure that I'm not the last and provide more opportunities for young men and women all across this state. You know, making the decision to suspend the campaign and come back in, both of those decisions was very difficult. But at the end of the day, we understood, not just my family, but this community, everybody across this state, the stakes were too high. And right now, the stakes are still incredibly high. We can't afford anybody to sit on the sidelines when it comes down to this election. And so there's a lot of ups and downs that comes with campaigning. You know, whether you're running, you know, for city council or county board supervisor seats or governor. And I will tell you, ever since we have relaunched this campaign, I have not necessarily felt the lows because I felt the energy of communities all across this state as we were barnstorming, you know, community after community with Governor Evers. And so right now, my job is to make sure that we continue to capture this energy that we have seen, continue this momentum moving forward, building the broadest coalition to make sure that we prevail in November, keep the governor's seat blue, and make sure that we're electing Democrats up and down the ballot in November.
Wisconsin, we have built something that will change politics forever. The work we have done will be remembered forever. I know we don't have the final results right now, but what I do know is that we are ready to keep fighting, and I feel confident. But more importantly, I am so deeply, deeply grateful to my core for how hard you have all fought, and for what this fight, our movement, means for all of Wisconsin. We are fighting to become once more what Wisconsin has always been, a place where our future is determined not by corporations and billionaires, but our future that's determined by the working class people who live here. We fought through this primary because Wisconsinites have rejected the politics of fear, of apathy, and division. We are here tonight because thousands and thousands of Wisconsinites across this great state came together in living rooms, in backyards, in bars, in church basements, in community centers. And we came together to demand something new and something better. People across this state have given themselves in ways we have never seen before in this state. We love you too! And so many of you, so many people across this state have given themselves because they see themselves in our movement. I can't tell you enough how much it means to see you all here. And then to have seen all the art, the music, the community, bracelets, mutual aid. We are growing community through a campaign and through hundreds and thousands of conversations that we've had in places that I don't think folks were expecting to talk about a gubernatorial campaign. God, I met so many folks who knocked their first door with this campaign. Folks who organized their first event, made their first phone call, text. Hey, they may have even broken no contact to tell their exes to make a plan to vote. And they did it, you did it, because you truly care for the people of this state, and you care about our shared future, and you care about opportunity for others, for strangers. We have built a beautiful, multi-generational, multi-partisan, multi-racial, working class movement. And it is a movement that meets the moment. This is unprecedented here. And this is how we're going to win together in November and for Novembers to come. The fight continues no matter what. Because no matter who wins this primary, we're going to continue to fight for each other. We are going to collectively reject despair, and we are going to unite. We're fighting for our communities whose land Tom Tiffany happens to be selling to big tech and big oil. Where it's Tom Tiffany's Medicaid cuts that are shutting down our hospitals. And when our neighborhoods defund Tom Tiffany. And when our neighborhoods and our neighbors are disappeared by uncontrolled ICE fascists, it's Tom Tiffany who shows up in support. And while he's doing that, we are fighting for hope. We are fighting for the freedom to show compassion to one another and to show care for the people around us. But our compassion is not soft. It is resolute. It is tenacious, and it will never yield. It is a demand that we are fighting for each other. And in 11 weeks, no matter who's on this ballot, y'all, we are going to fight to win for one another. We will win together, united. Because everyone who's running in this race, they know that we can make better possible. And we must make better possible. And together, with each other and for each other, we will make better possible. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
The show, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 people contributing on average $50 each a year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Of course, it allows for us to do what we do at all the shows on the network. You want to give you a cash app, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's also for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Go download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get out Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, you name it, all sort of stuff there. Shopblackstarnetwork.com or the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, folks, if you want to get these products here from our black-owned companies, folks, we got, you name it, our marketplace. We've got golf balls, man. We got candles. We got hair care products, skin care products. We got baking mix, man. We got all sorts of stuff. More than 50 black companies on shopblackstarnetwork.com. So do me a favor, y'all, and go check it out. When you buy products from there, we got black-owned toilet paper and tissue paper. When you buy products from there, you also are supporting this show as well. So shop blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app, fan base. Follow me at Roland S. Martin. Folks, that's it.
After we rebuilt this campaign with purpose.